We aren't going to let anyone cancel culture us because we don't need social media. We never needed online approval for our music to thrive. Not now, not ever. Get out and find a show because we are where the party's at. And if you're not there, then get there.
Jack Still Rec has had the honor of performing from coast to coast. From packed basements filled with wild crowds, to legendary venues that once housed iconic groups such as Led Zeppelin and Nirvana. Alongside her fellow members of Left in the Attic, Jax has defiantly carved her path within both the music industry and the world around her. Her lyrics tell a story that only she can deliver, and we think it's time for the Bronx to take notice. This is B-Sides.
They wanted to be slaves to the man, they like the minimum wage. They want me to buy the pills, but I won't stay in your cage. Yeah, I don't want to. Oh, you can't make me. No, you can't make me. Minimum wage. They want me to be slave to that man. I won't stay in your cage.
It's like, one of the closing questions I have to ask, just being, a woman, a female. How do you view yourself and your identity within the punk rock community? And do you see yourself as a role model for other women that want to get into punk rock?
No. No. I'm just a chick who plays music. Mm-hmm. I don't get involved with agendas. I don't get involved with the LGBT. I don't get involved with all women shows. I think that's sexist. I know that's crazy coming from a woman. I want to play with guys. I want guys to feel comfortable playing with me. I think we hold our own. I think that I don't want to fit into some cookie cutter all-girl band. We're not an all-girl band. We're just a band who happens to be made up of three best friends who happen to be women. So I don't feel like a role model. If people want me to be their role model, that's great.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faults. I have a trash mouth. I have done some things in life that I'm probably not proud of, but I'm proud of most of the stuff that I've done. So if you want to follow that, that's cool. But I don't outwardly seek praise or approval or to fit into some stereotypical woman role. We usually actually turn down women shows because we don't think that that's fair. All you see us as is just a woman band. Like, did you listen to our music? Did you give us a shot? You're just trying to showcase women. Well, is there all male shows? Is that just a thing? Like, because we're women, you're gonna hire us? I don't think so, bro. I am from the country club, Throgs Neck, and Pelham Bay area of the Bronx. I guess that's northeast. I play American garage rock. It's a mixed bag of classic rock, blues, punk rock, thrash, grunge. We've got it all in there. A little bit of rap, a little bit of rock.
That's nice.
So we've got a mixed bag.
It's a whole mood.
Yeah, it's a mood. I like that. Oh, that's such a good line. It's a mood.
So starting out, your first steps into music, you pick up a guitar. Is that where you wanted to go? Did you have a plan for your music?
It just comes out organically. Like, we don't have like a science behind it. I mean, a lot of it's like blues based, so we start kind of there, but we don't have like a design. Like, we don't walk in saying we're gonna make like a thrash metal song right now. Like, we have a surf rock song. We have like stuff that you guys probably haven't heard yet. We've got like heavy like grunge shit. Like. So I picked up a guitar, I guess, when I was 11 or 12 years old, and and the funny story about it is my dad got me this like little harmony guitar, like one of these like cheap $100, starter packs or whatever. You know what I mean? When you're a kid, you want to be like Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, and like, here's this.
You want to be on stage immediately. Let's go.
You want to go. You want to dive in. You want to go crazy. But he handed me this little like black guitar, and I was lefty, And he was like, nah, you're doing it wrong. And he flipped the guitar because the guitar is right-handed. And I'm like, God damn it, Dad. You just screwed me up for the rest of my life. I picked it up like this, and I could have been like Kurt Cobain or something.
Now you're switching.
And now, no, I can't. I tried hard to switch back. It was right. The guitar was right-handed. And when I was reading the little book, because it comes with a little book,
got it.
you know, I was like, why is this backward? And he's like, the guitar's backward. And he flipped it over, and that's the end of it.
Jesus.
It did help though, guys. Like, I mean, most awesome guitars, like, sorry lefties, but most awesome guitars are right-handed. You know, the specific finishes that I wanted don't come in left.
You know, it's funny because I know in the past we've always talked about, you know, the music we listened to growing up. I know you and I, like, we kind of like were raised on like the classic rock style, you know, blues, classic Motown, but then we also like grunge and alternative. Like, what were some of the genres that influenced you early as a kid, and also like as you got into your career?
Rage Against the Machine, the Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac, early Green Day, all sorts of grunge, especially Nirvana. I know that, you know.
Absolutely.
There were a whole bunch of little ones underneath there. The Offspring is like one of my favorites. But the major influences were like classic rock, like Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac, Santana. God, my dad listened to some good stuff. Jethro Tull. A lot of like underground stuff too, and the Beatles, of course, the Beatles. But yeah, like that's where my influence came from, like these hard rock, like guitar players mainly. You know, I wanted to be these guys, you know, and I never even thought I could sing. Like, so it's so funny because I'm not supposed to be the singer in the band. Like, I just wanted to play guitar. Like, neither of my bandmates wanted to sing either. Nobody wants to sing, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it myself.
Who made the choice? Was that individual choice to sing?
When we get together with the band, they'll tell you how that all went down. Because it's a funny story. But yeah, they should be here for that. But
I mean, I don't think I could imagine Left in the Attic with a different vocal sound. I mean, you have such an iconic sound to you. You have that rasp, that heat in there, you know?
But I still don't believe I can sing. Like, I can hit keys, like, you know what I mean? I'm not tone deaf, but like, I don't think that I'm like any type of good singer. I just get the point across, you know? I write the lyrics and I get the point across in key, I guess. But that doesn't make me like any Janis Joplin or like Beyonce or so. You know what I mean? Like those people can actually sing. I just get a message across.
So you would say your introduction to music, to performing, was from your father, the influence from your father?
100%. He was a marching band drummer.
Oh, wow.
So he used to, he's such a funny guy. He used to drum on the sink. And you could hear it all throughout the house. Like, he'd be doing the dishes, and he'd, you know,
making beats
on the sink. And I know he probably doesn't remember that growing up, but that definitely influenced me to become like percussionary, like to understand like how the beat, you know, rocks. And I picked up drums very, very briefly, like very briefly because of him. Like, I can only do like paradiddles though, like stuff like that, because that's what he was teaching me. So I hold the sticks all wrong and stuff. But yeah, you know, you hold it marching band wise, like drummers actually fetch stuff.
So let's say there was someone who identified as gay, trans, lesbian, especially in the Bronx, looking to get into the punk rock scene. What advice would you give them, if any? You know, would you tell them to do things differently than you did? Where would you go about that?
It's like a heavy loaded question because I don't follow any of those rules, guidelines, or clubs. If I were to give any advice, don't identify with any cookie cutter box. I'm tired of people, you know, cancel culturing people because they don't agree with every little thing that's going on. I mean, if anything, this pandemic has taught me, it's people tend to be extremely judgmental and very cutthroat. And I think that putting yourself in a box that's labeled as one of those things that you mentioned is a dangerous game to play, because you have to fit that stereotype or that stigma. Otherwise, you're at risk of falling into something you might not be comfortable with, or something that you're kind of against but are afraid to speak up. My best advice is to speak your mind and to live your life authentically, not inauthentically.
So were you playing music in school, like at a band, or so when did you start playing?
I had a very limited
exposure to anybody like me. Anybody. I went to private school and not for nothing, it was miserable. Like, I would not recommend putting your kids in private school. There's not enough diversity for music, science, mathematics. Like, I missed out on a lot of stuff, although my parents did do good putting me in private school for the discipline. I will always be on time. I speak really eloquently. I write really eloquently. But I missed out on good sports, and mathematics really fails in private school. I'm sorry, it does. And I'm going for engineering now. I'm a carpenter and I'm going for engineering, so I really wish my mathematics skills were a little bit better. But I'm not knocking it. The children that I went to school with were horrible people. Horrible. I hope you're listening. You're horrible. No, I have one best friend who I took from grammar school, and another one that I still keep in contact with who lives in Indiana. That's it. But I didn't have any music. Like, they had a piano playing, music teacher, but there was nothing to like offer. Like, you know what I mean? I don't remember even having a recorder. I think there was violins. Like, it was a weird mixed bag of stuff that they have to give you for like a semester, but nothing.
So you're paying all this tuition and look at that.
Yeah. So I went to
get
private
beat up
school.
on the playground.
That was Celine.
I went to private school.
So true, and the
well.
mothers fucking look the other. Excuse my language. They look the other way.
So we went to similar schools,
Yeah.
and private school, you have that rigidity to it. You have it's a very particular way of learning.
Agreed.
And I also found like my styles of music in my community outside of that.
Yes.
Very
much.
It was
I was
hard
made
for me to
fun
find
of
that.
ridiculously for listening to rock music.
Yeah.
Those kids were into the Fugees and Biggie, and I got into Biggie later. I was made fun of miserably. I'm so thankful I was made fun of because now I feel, like I found a gold mine. Like, all of us all found this gold mine, and these narrow-minded kids were listening to stuff that's past already. You know what I mean? Like, I'm into these genres that are now like evolving. Like, they were listening to like. I don't know, I call it like flat, like whatever Z100 was playing.
It was the top 40, was the main. It was whatever was spoon-fed.
They didn't dive in and like get wet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta see live rock shows. You gotta feel the energy, and it was flat.
I was the same way. Like, for me, it was the same thing. You kind of at home was the classic music, right? Dad was the rock, mom was the Motown.
Gotcha.
But in school was. Same thing. It was the hip hop. It was like the rock for me at that time. It was Linkin Park. It was POD.
Yes.
It was Johnny Cool. It wasn't until later on where, like you said, start going to those shows, start kind of actually getting into the local community or like those regional bands that are just amazing, the touring bands, and then you really see
You explore.
and then that's how you get your music, repertoire.
Yeah. That was definitely like hearing other people being able, like the Kesners.
Yeah.
I learned everything from Alex Rivera. I love you, Alex. I learned everything that I know about guitar from listening and playing along to like the early Green Day stuff and Nirvana, like those 4-chord progressions. And then I learned everything blues from Alex Rivera. We used to sit at his house until like 5 o'clock in the morning playing note by note blues rock, and I still suck at it. The kid's a prodigy. Like, the Kesners were my biggest idols, and I ended up hanging out with them, having beers with them, and learning from them. These were the guys on stage. We were all in the same age bracket, but these were the guys on stage that could rock your socks off, and that's really where music got solidified for me.
So you mentioned the Kesners. Now, I know, this is a little bit before my time in the Bronx local scene. I've heard of them. I've heard that they're fucking legends.
I know.
Who are they? What was their impact within the Bronx?
They
tell us.
Yeah.
They helped start the scene as we know it. The scene was not the Bronx Underground.
Heavy.
Wow.
They are not. The Bronx Underground was
Kesners.
later. Okay, there was like Rumors. There was the DA Beach Club. Not the DA Beach Club. I'm sorry, the Mannheim Beach Club. There was other Lucas Pizzeria shows. Like, there was a lot of other stuff, and the Bronx Underground kind of came and umbrellaed everything. And they were not the originals. I'm sorry, guys, you weren't. But
We were throwing shows in backyards. We were throwing shows in basements. There was always a musical community, and the Kesners spearheaded the entire thing. They started at Luca's Pizzeria, at least for my generation. I'm sure that previous generations were doing other things.
There was something there.
I'm sure that there was. It was the 80s and 90s. Like, there had to be something there. Rock music was popping, you know what I mean? So, come, like, the late 90s, there was tons of like the Snow Cones and like I can't even remember the Spitfire Castaways. Like, there were just bands that were throwing random non-organized shows at Luca's Pizzeria, and the Kesners were definitely one of them. And they had just that old school 1950s and 60s rock and roll. Like, they were playing like the pop shit, you know what I mean? And you would go and you're like, I found my people. My parents are listening to this, and it's being played live in front of me by people my age. I'm not crazy. Like, they were playing like Johnny B. Good and like, you know, like Chuck Berry and like little Rolling Stones hits here and there. Like, it was
that was happening here.
That must be fun.
It was really wild to walk into like a pizzeria and everybody's doing like the hop. You know what I mean? And you're like,
the twist.
the twist. Let's do the twist. No, it was just crazy. And they had their own original songs that were very like
in a pizzeria. That's pretty cool.
Like Velvet Underground was a big influence for Mike Delaney. Like the Kesners are Mike Delaney, Mark Guerra, Alex Rivera, and Joe Vacano, and they're all my friends. Like, they're all just great guys, and they spearheaded this movement, and they got their friends from Lehman. Lehman had like a huge music scene going on. Dave was teaching, I think.
I remember that, yeah.
I didn't go to Lehman, but they had a huge rock scene, and they would pick and choose like bands that would go along with it, and all of a sudden we have like a scene that started going between like little democratic, clubs underneath the square.
So you're one of the few people that I know that's been around the Bronx music scene for a long, like you've seen it develop, you've seen it grow, you've seen it turn into, you know, wherever it may be now. What are your thoughts on the transition? You know, is it better now? Was it better back then? You know, what's the
how do I say this? It's neither better nor worse. It continues. It's I'm forgetting the word. It's just one entity. Like, there was a lot of genres that I really didn't like, and there were a lot of genres that I really did like. And you know, it's like an experiment. It's an ongoing, linear experiment. You attend the shows with the bands that you like to get in, you know, to see other bands that are on the bill, and then maybe you'll like them too, and then you'll go to their show, and it's like step by step. So I went through a lot of the scene. I was really not a Bronx Underground kid. I liked the basement shows, the Luca's Pizzeria shows. Paying $8 at a door with a security guy was not my thing. I do that at Roseland Ballroom. Like, not to knock them, they did a fantastic job for however long that they did it, and I know you guys probably were, or at least you were in attendance. You never met me because I never went to those types of shows. I felt like they only hired one or two bands, and they always had the same 2 or 3 bands that rotated.
Like a residency in a way.
And I was so bored with that. I was like, oh my god, I have to. They're highlighting again.
So let's we talked a little about the music scene. We talked about your development as an artist. Let's go meet the band and see what they're doing.
Hell yeah, you guys are gonna love my band mates.
Hailed as the #1 pizza spot in the Bronx, we headed out to Louis and Ernie's for a few pies to bring over to the studio. I even snuck in a slam and chicken and cheese calzone to inhale later. We were on our way to meet Murphy and Chrissy, the better half are left in the attic, to talk about the band's origins, crazy on-tour stories, and of course, hear that iconic song, FDR.
I'm Murphy. I'm the drummer.
Yeah, we're part of the Bronx.
Yeah, Dark Neck, Palm Bay area.
Oh, cool. I'm Chrissy. I play bass. I'm from Morris Park, section of the Bronx.
That's why I always have to ask. You can't
How did all 3 of you meet?
We all went to high school together. We all met in high school.
Wow.
We went to Preston.
Preston.
Rock on, Preston.
Yeah.
Preston. Wow.
I met them. I was the only kid in my grade and in the whole fucking school that played an instrument. So there's like 400 girls, and I'm the only instrument player. And one afternoon, I think I was a sophomore or a junior. So 2 years I went through with
You
no
had to
one.
be at least a junior.
Yeah. And I see both of them and a third person walking with guitars on their backs and a drumstick pair like out of her back pocket, and I stormed them. They were freshmen. they lost all the color in their face. I was like, we're gonna be in a band together. They're like, the crazy junior is talking to us. They all looked at each other. They're like,
we all knew who she was. The whole school knew who she
That
was.
was freshman initiation right there.
She was
right?
famous.
That was it.
Yeah, I mean, she stands out, obviously.
yeah,
you know,
clearly.
like
Stands out.
we had to wear uniforms, so she'd have like the long skirt with like her shorts sticking out underneath, or
Oh.
she'd have the Vans on, or like skateboarding down the hallway.
I was
like,
skateboarding down
Everybody
the
knew
hall-
who she was in the school.
they would chase me. Miss Del Vecchio, you're not allowed to have that skateboard in this school. And here I am pedaling away like it was badass.
Look at that, man.
Oh man,
Just
and I was-
rebel from the very beginning, huh?
Yeah.
So, like, when you girls first got together, started playing, like, what was the similar styles that you kind of encountered, either recording or performing on stage, that you guys had?
I mean, bands we'd cover, like, what we started with, of course, Green Day. What else did we cover?
Yeah, like Green Day, Nirvana.
Okay.
I think Three Doors Down was pretty popular at that time,
Yes.
so we did
That was the
Superman.
one
I remember.
Wow.
Or
Kryptonite,
Kryptonite.
yeah.
Not Superman, yeah,
Kryptonite, yeah.
You know what I mean. It was a lot of Green Day, Nirvana stuff, because I think you mentioned that earlier too.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of like.
It's like, how did the name Left in the Attic come to be? Like, just tell us a story about how that started.
She's ready.
I know you want to change the name, but you gotta tell us and the viewers,
origins.
like, the origins of how this whole thing started.
Ask my drummer.
Okay, drummer.
Well, we were actually left in an attic. We were,
Literally.
You're locked in an attic?
in her old apartment. She found an attic inside the closet that we would climb up to, and there's this big party going on. And
In the attic.
In
in
the
the
attic.
attic,
We used to
yeah.
party in the
we
attic.
got like Christmas lights going on up there, and
Wow.
we'd just hang out. And I guess the first day that you found it, we also ended up started to play together. But I guess everybody else left the party. You know, there was a ladder to get out. The last person before us to get out of the attic kicked it over. And it was just the three of us left there, and I guess the whole party went across the way to smoke or whatever, and we were just, hello?
We were like sticking our head through like maybe like a 2x2 hole, and we're like, guys, this isn't funny. It's like a whole story for us to drop through. So of course, who had to drop down? Me. Chrissy's like holding my arm, like I had to like hang out of this hole and drop out of the ceiling. So we got left in an attic. It's a cool story. I hate the name.
The lyrics in your song, like, it's provocative, it's bold, it's in your face, it's rebellious. Like, where did you start writing in that way? Is that from your influences from like Rage Against the Machine and other bands from the grunge era, or like you guys were in your own element, in your own way you look at society based on those type of lyrics?
I know it's been said before, but like I write about shit I see, like what's happening, like the status of like the world, like what I feel. I don't want to pay my rent. I just want to rob and steal, you know. I just want to stay home all day and write lyrics, but I gotta go to work. Like, it's mainly like what can you relate, you know, to status. Like, we've all been there where we're poor, or you know, not enough money to purchase things. Like, there's a lot of influence in that.
In terms of like FDR, like what inspired you to do that? Were you like booking it down the 59th to Brooklyn Bridge? Like,
I was in a rap group.
whoa,
Yeah.
okay, whoa, breaking news.
Hold on.
Everyone take a sip.
Yeah.
Rap group.
You were in a rap group.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
We never performed live. It was me and Alex Rivera. He had a from the Kezners. He had a like a, how do you explain it? Like a click track or whatever. Like some sort of like mixer that he was mixing down old records and creating beats. So he called me over and he's like, "Yo, can you lay down some lyrics to this?" So he actually came up with East River, FDR Drive, Harlem River to the West Side. So he had that, and I was like, all right, and he kicked it back to me. And I was like, cross Bronx to the Teaneck Bridge, Jones Beach, and Robert Moses. He's like, take it. He's like, take the whole thing and run with it. So there was a couple of, saw a guy flying by Randall's Island, just found out that his wife's been lying, seen too much, he's jumping, diving, Straight Riding Where I came up with Straight Riding Where FDR Driving. So it was actually a co-collaboration that I had to ask him permission to use. Wow. So there are those two chunks, and I filled in the rest and the chorus, and I wrote all this shit to it. And I asked him, he's like, I'm not going to do anything with it. This was just me driving home. Like, the kid is a genius. Yeah. Okay, I worked with him on everything that I do, like musically, for a long time. He's a genius, and he came up with just a few lines, and we ran with it. So when we originally started the band, it was a very long song. There was like 3 or 4 other verses to it, like where I just was rapping, and I cut and pasted the best lines that I can fit, that I can sing to while I was playing, and that's how FDR Drive came out.
So just to stem off of that a little bit, you have the blues influence in your music. You don't go with the technical grain in terms of music creation. Genre-wise, where does that put you? Are you rock, are you punk rock?
We never know. We never know.
This is the age-old question. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
You know what? Nobody knows. Let's hear it. Let's take a look at what you guys got.
Let's do it.
Segue.
Yeah.
That's a great segue.
Let's go.